Alright, hey guys, how are we doing? Back another video from Mother's Basement. We got another hottest trash anime video for spring 2024. I think it's going to be interesting because I've not been watching a lot of new anime, and mainly on the sequels. Mushoku Tensei, That Time's Reincarnated as a Slime, My Hero Academia. I am enjoying Go-Go Loser Ranger and Kaiju number 8. But yeah, let's see what's on the menu for this season of trash.
Konbanwa, customer-sama. And welcome to the new Tokyo branch of Chez Garbage.
Oh yeah, they've moved, haven't they? Yeah.
Even though I'm not quite dressed for it, my regular tux got lost at customs. I'm so glad you could make it to our opening night. And you will be too when you see the absolute heaps of anime trash we've got in store for you. From new twists on old favorites to the most exquisitely pungent horseshit you've ever laid nose on. We've got something for everyone and at least a couple things for absolutely no one. And then, for dessert, we've got a real treat in store for you. The long-awaited return of one of the finest isekai delicacies known to Trash Goblin.
Yes, because I finished the movie the other day. I realized on my Crunchyroll is halfway through the movie, so I finished the movie and now I can carry on.
You know, the one from the thumbnail, the poster, because this is a restaurant, not a YouTube channel. Though I'd still very much appreciate it if you left a comment and a like on Yelp?
Yes.
This is the hottest trash of spring 2024. Yeah. In keeping with our new location at the birthplace of anime trash, we'll start the evening's omakase menu off with a traditional harem mono appetizer. One-room apartment, nice lighting, angel included, is a light and breezy harem comedy about a nice young high school boy named Shintaro who lives all by his lonesome until
what's with the eyes? Whoa.
One night an angel crashes on his balcony. Crashes metaphorically, I mean, like you might on your buddy's couch after a very safe, controlled landing. No waifus were harmed in the making of this anime.
Support waifus.org.
Though quite a few were embarrassed and or surprised enough to go. After establishing that Toa is, in fact, an angel and not just a crazy lady who broke into his apartment.
The wings are a bit of a giveaway, but okay.
Shintaro decides to start letting her stay there full time, which he quickly realizes is deeply impractical and impossible to explain to his classmates. Sorry, bud, should have watched the Harem Survival Guide. But on the bright side, she cooks real good food for him, which he also has trouble explaining. Of course, before too long, various other mostly supernatural cuties start showing up to cause problems in his orbit, drawn to him by his basic sense of courtesy and decency, which the show treats like this exceptional and unique quality when really he's just a very average, nice guy. You will never be him. But hey, that's okay. Appetizers don't gotta be masterpieces. Sometimes simple comfort food is enough. I award One Room Angel 2 novelty bread baskets shaped like trash cans. Chez Garbage regulars have told us they're getting a bit tired of the same old isekai trash each season.
It's always that though, isn't it? Because there's always so much for what
So our chefs in back have been working on some exciting new fusion cuisine to freshen things up. On first taste, the new gate bears the distinct flavor of store-brand Sword Art Online. But once you really sink your teeth into it, it reveals the rich, new, slightly different flavor of Walmart Overlord. Yes, for the first time ever, trapped in a VR MMO anime and isekai collide to create something totally new and different. Walk Horizon doesn't count. That was a regular MMO that they got both trapped in and isekai'd into at the same time. Completely different.
You are technically correct. The best kind of correct.
So basically, this guy, who's definitely not Kirito, note the red stripes on his trench coat. Completely different guy. Please don't sue us, Reki Kawahara. He goes off to solo the big bad of this VR MMO everyone's been trapped in for some amount of time, it's not clear, and he wins. So the logout button comes back, and then he just sort of sits around for a bit, like to make sure everyone else logs out, I guess. But then, before he can log out, a magic door opens, and now it's 500 years later, and the game is real life. Also, in the 500 years since all the best adventurers got raptured from the perspective of the now sentient NPCs, Magic Society has regressed substantially. So, like, any old Joe from the VR MMO would have been the most powerful guy ever here, let alone the Kirito. And this guy is the Kirito.
The only one left, right?
It's totally not Kirito. So, yeah, long story short, his old house from the game has become the most legendary magic shop in the whole wide world. To the point that a letter of introduction from his old NPC assistant's NPC assistant is basically equivalent to a Hunter x Hunter license.
Whoa.
And he uses one of those to go smurf as a regular adventurer, killing level 600 monsters by sneezing at them, even when he has his power limiter on, and every girl he meets everywhere, plus a lot of the guys, tries to jump on his dick all the time, including the Adventurers Guild clerk ladies, who are twins.
Isn't it weird? It's like, to try and have a twist and a change on the idea, it's just what's our excuse for him being more powerful in this one? Let's do something slightly different. Let's over-explain why he is so powerful.
ちょっと報告しておきたいことがあるんですけど。
受けたまわります。ん？はい、私が受けたまわります。シリカ？何？
Which might seem like every isekai you've ever seen, but remember, they knocked off the last 10 minutes of Aincrad in the first 10 minutes of this thing, so it's different. I give it 3 slightly smoldering bins full of SAO and Overlord merch with the cereal
Doesn't seem
numbers
like
filed
the
off.
greatest.
Now, obviously, those last few dishes were made for decidedly, how to put this delicately, horny and male palates, but worry not, ladies. We haven't forgotten you with our exciting new fusion menu. Combining all the trashiest parts of Fruits Basket, Vampire Night, and Oron High School Host Club, Chez Garbage is proud to present the delightfully decadent Vampire Dormitory.
Vampire Dormitory.
An anime so dedicated to giving you your daily recommended serving of smexy vampire boys and neck-biting action that it almost forgot to cook up a plot to go with it.
Oh, no.
Our hero, Mito Yamato, is a
sexy
homeless
and not the narrative. Oh dear.
orphan boy, unloved by literally anyone on the entire planet, who loses his last lifeline when he's fired from a ramen shop for, I must stress, this is not a joke, being too handsome and bringing in so many lady customers, the men can't get seats no more. When he then embarrasses himself at a handsome boy cafe that might have otherwise hired him, he decides to just go to a local...
That's why I left all my previous jobs, of course. Yeah.
bridge and give up on everything forever.
'Cause he's
but
hot.
then he decides not to. But then he slips and falls off anyway. But then, luckily, a handsome boy from the Handsome Boy Cafe named Ruka flies in to save him, which he can do because he's a secret vampire who's been looking for a pretty boy whose blood he can drink because he's also a secret magical girl otaku and therefore too nervous around 3D women to drink their blood. So he asks Mito to live in his dorm and go to his fancy all-boys high school and also work at the hot boy cafe that his butler runs so he can snack on him every day whenever he wants. And also teach him what love is. Because, as we all know, not being loved makes your blood taste like shit to vampires. But if someone does love you, it tastes
like strawberries.
However, he can only ever love him as a friend whose neck he bites every night and also they sleep in the same bed because Vampire Society has strict no homo rules, you see. And you can only become a real vampire if you find your opposite gender destined soulmate.
Strict no
But
homo
of course,
rules.
you remember I mentioned Oron High School Host Club as part of the fusion earlier, and indeed, as you might have surmised, Mito is secretly a girl who pretends to be a boy because life's harder for homeless girl orphans than boy orphans. And now she's got to keep that secret from the whole school and also Ruka while sleeping in his bed every night and also wearing a wig like 24/7, including in the bath, because just keeping her natural hair short would make way too much sense. And then this other hot bad boy shows
This
up who
anime seems so
hates
strange.
vampires. So they fight over her all the time, even though they're both very vocally not gay, and also they both think she's a boy, which they both think even though these random street thugs were able to clock her as a girl within like 10 seconds of harassing her.
どう見てもよ、こいつ女だろ。こんな可愛い顔で泣く男がいるか？
Damn, that's every kind of phobic at once. Vampire Dormitory has done something truly impressive here, something I never thought possible. It's created a love story that is in absolutely no way better than Twilight, with vampire lore that is in every possible way stupider. And I mean that as the highest compliment. The anime industry absolutely buries us boys in garbage every season, while the ladies are left to pick through the barest of trash scraps. So I think we should all be happy for them that they finally have a proper 5-alarm dumpster fire to call their
dumpsters.
own. Also, they even got a pretty good shoujo thing this season with an affliction called love. And it isn't even a villainous story for once.
Whoa.
Though it's also not quite trashy enough to make the cut. For those with dietary concerns, our exciting new fusion menu also includes, and I can't believe it's
I'm enjoying this fusion menu. It's very, very tasty.
not isekai option. The banished former hero lives as he pleases, takes two of the trashiest non-portal fantasy concepts out there, a reincarnated hero coming back to around in a world without demon kings, and an adventurer dude who gets written off for being underpowered when he's secretly super overpowered, and inexpertly blends them together with some of the most dog water animation you have ever seen to create something uniquely and exquisitely unwatchable. Though at least the ED's a bop. Set in a world where everyone gets a magical gift from God that either does stuff to kill monsters or helps them with their job, our hero, Alan, is cast out as a failure by his noble father at the tender age of 18 because he didn't get any gift when he was baptized. But what his dad failed to realize is Alan was only pretending to be a fail son so he could be banished to the countryside and use all the hero powers that he still has from his past life, which he remembers, to go around saving princesses and killing the ugliest monster designs you have ever laid eyes on. So all the hero stuff his dad wanted him to do, basically,
He's doing.
you know, on his own terms without his dad's approval or knowledge.
Right.
So he's still disappointed in him. Real teen rebel, this one. So yeah, the plot's
Don't
about
tell me
on
what to
par with
do.
that animation, and
do
in
it 'cause
case you were
I
thinking the
want it.
dialogue might still
Not
carry
'cause you
this
want me
one.
to.
やめろ！計画の邪魔をするな！計画って言ったぞ！やっぱり！
Yeah. No. The scheme in question was actually cooked up by Alan's asshole dad, Craig, with the help of his equally asshole brother, Brett, and also this demon dude who looks like the killer from
Steve.
every Detective Conan episode, but with horns, because literally any effort from the designers would be way too much for this script. The demons want humanity to give up all their gifts, you see, so they'll be easier to conquer, and Alan's bad dad decides to go along with that to prove his deeply held belief that levels are better than gifts, actually, because gifts let God control your destiny, but leveling up in a JRPG lets you kill God, maybe.
レベルを上げるというのは
Makes
魂の
sense.
怒りを上げることつまりより上位の存在神に近づける
You heard that right. The villain's ideology is rooted in the show's RPG mechanics. That's how little they're trying here. Well, okay, that's not entirely fair. The real reason Craig hates gifts and wants to kill God with his high level is because he had the gift to predict the future, and with it, he foresaw that his wife would die because of her gift that made her destined to be an anime protagonist's dead mom. But then, when Alan was born, he pretended that he wasn't an anime protagonist so he could relax and take it easy in this life, meaning that Craig thought his wife died for nothing.
Oh
Which
my God.
drove him to evil. And then his son reveals to him that he was a protagonist all along by murdering him. You know, I'm starting to feel like Alan maybe deserved a bit or all of that abuse. Kid's a real sack of shit,
see
you
it,
feel
doesn't
me?
he?
But hey, so's the whole show. In fact, I give it 4 huge flamin' burlap sacks absolutely stuffed with it. By now you might be thinking all that boring old regular isekai crap wasn't so bad after all. All according to Keikaku. When you hear a title like Chillin' in Another World with my level 2 cheat powers, you instantly get a pretty good idea of what you're getting into. Guy gets isekai'd and he's really OP, so everything goes super easy for him and all the ladies want his dick. Been there, done that, got so many t-shirts I'm running out of closet space. In this case though, there's a bit more to it than meets the eye. For starters, while our hero, Fleo, does get summoned to a fantastical other world, the world he starts in isn't Earth. He's just a regular old merchant from a slightly different fantasy world, notable mainly for treating his world's underclass of beastman slaves with more respect than your average human. When he arrives in the other world, he's delighted to discover that slavery isn't really a thing there. Though on the flip side, he was explicitly summoned as a conscript in a big ugly race war between man and demon, so that's not great. Lucky for him, his meager stats aren't high enough to be of much use to the human king, especially compared to the other hero they summoned, who starts in the low 900s, so he gets shipped off to a parcel of land deep in the countryside where he can't embarrass the royalty with evidence of their magic up. I mean, he's not that lucky. The king did bait his starting gear with a monster lure in hopes he'd just disappear quietly. But after stabbing the first group of slimes that jumped him, he hits level 2, at which point his stats become literally infinite. So it all works out in the most conveniently contrived way possible. Shortly thereafter, he meets his obligatory harem of fantasy hotties, but also a feisty dog demon girl who refuses to let them become a harem because she's his wife, damn it, and a damn fine wife at that. Like any season that didn't have Holo in it, top tier best girl contender. And then they all just sort of hang around their cozy little homestead, farming, fighting psycho bears, and occasionally entertaining the Demon King when he stops by to hit on one of the not-a-harem girls, all while trying their best to not get involved in that whole race war thing. With occasional cutaways to show the king and other hero being jackasses, while the nice princess tries to fix them. Basically, wherever S.H.I.E.L.D. hero zigs, this show zags, and even if it's not particularly fun to look at most of the time, yeesh, that animation, it is frequently fun to watch as a result, and pretty darn funny to boot. I give Chillin' in Another World 3 big breaths of fresh air, sealed inside of airtight trash bags and held aloft by a small steady flame in a clever trash dirigible contraption. On that note, though, I'd like to take a quick breather from all the typical power fantasies, not because we're running out. It is to laugh, but because you're gonna want a palate cleanser before the absolute avalanche of garbage that's coming between now and our delectable double dessert course. Manhwa adaptation Viral Hit offers a different, more modern sort of...
This is the kid that fights people on YouTube and gets
power
used for
fantasy
it,
for the socially awkward geeks out there. The fantasy of kicking your bullies' asses and getting YouTube famous doing it. Yu Hobin has it rough. At home, he's all on his lonesome, working long hours at McDonald's not just to pay rent, but to foot the hospital bills for his cancer-stricken mother. Meanwhile, at school, he's constantly bullied by his classmate, Pak Go, who also happens to be an extremely successful NewTube streamer, famous for viral stunts like pretending to give away money and harassing hot McDonald's cashiers.
30秒以内にこの写真の通りに作れなかったら電話番号を教えてもらいます
Don't worry, Hobin saves her with some lightning fast
And
fry
you don't
cooking.
have to give him...
Feats-wise, he's basically anime SpongeBob. Through a series of coincidences way too convoluted to explain here, Hobin accidentally releases a video of himself and Pakgo's cameraman, Jikse, slap fighting with kimchi in his house, which goes crazy viral and rockets him to overnight silver play button stardom as a professional bully confronter. Though before he can really turn pro, he's got to take some lessons in the school of hard knocks from an MMA expert in a chicken mask.
Of course.
Like one does, earning his first big win by breaking a street mugger's hands with his face. Damn, he really is anime SpongeBob. The show's depiction of YouTube growth and economics, much like its portrayal of street fighting, is a wee bit oversimplified, but it does at least get the important bits right.
黄色いマークがつくと該当の動画では
Oh,
収益が
dreaded
発
yellow.
生しないようになってるんだ。YouTuber にとっては恐怖の対象だ。
Yes.
I've never felt so seen. Is what I'd say if this was a YouTube video
Yeah, not a
rather than a restaurant. As someone who's dealt with bullies growing up, there is some powerfully relatable catharsis to be found in watching Hoban learn how to stand up for himself. It's pretty goofy and melodramatic, but the underlying characters here are surprisingly solid, and it has the art of cringe comedy down to a science.
動画全部見ました。一緒に写真撮ってくれませんか？
俺ですか？
シオンくん。
I give it 2 McDonald's dumpsters with slightly more dried blood on them than usual, which you can't really see because they're red, but
I can
trust
see it.
me, it's there.
Yeah.
Speaking of demonetization risks, I can't show much of the highly fan-servicey and very creatively named supernatural mystery series Mysterious Disappearances, an uncensored cut of this menu, especially not the part of the OP that made me write this down. But one of the first notes I wrote for this show whilst working on the ones to watch was, first mystery, where did her nipples go? And then, without spoiling too much, because it is a mystery anime, Protag-chan's massive gazongas did in fact mysteriously disappear halfway through the first episode. So I guess the next supernatural mystery we gotta solve is how I got psychic powers. Again, I can't tell you too much about this anime without ruining some of the mysteries at play, nor can I show much of the bathhouse episode that cemented its place on tonight's menu. But I will say the mysteries are actually quite good, and as someone who also would very much like to write a novel, but struggles to find the time and motivation when I'm done with work, I found Protag-chan Sumireko to be painfully relatable, even if I can't quite relate to her obvious back pain. I give this one the wastebasket where Edgar Allan Poe tossed all his poems, including the phrase, "She breasted boobily," prior to lighting them on fire. There's no easy way to stand out in the overcrowded modern fantasy anime landscape, but even if you don't have good animation or writing, a catchy hit theme song can take you a long way. And Remonster was clearly made by people who've heard that advice. I didn't say they understood it, and that's kind of a running theme with this particular piece of isekai crap. Like, on paper, our formerly human hero Gobro understands that consent is good and standard anime goblin mating practices are bad, so he outlaws those as soon as he takes over the tribe with his superior earth brain. But then, every single kidnapped woman he saves from getting goblin slayered just sort of Stockholm syndromes her way into his bed one episode later anyway, so he more or less just good cop, bad copped his way into doing the exact same thing. Then later, he's just straight up a bad cop with some prisoners of war. Very not cool, though at least most of that stuff does happen off screen, which is definitely a tasteful directing choice and not just an excuse to cut even more corners on the incredibly Studio Dean core animation.
死なないギリギリのラインで一番きついお仕置きをしたホブ犬が息絶えたのは朝になった頃だった。
Still, I do kind of wish I'd been able to watch more than 2 episodes of this thing before throwing it in the spring bargain bin, and not just because it gets so casually disgusting. Early on, I thought the series was just using the daily diary entry format as a way to gloss over the early development of its characters and get to the real action and world building. But then it just keeps doing it. So each episode is just a series of random numbered title cards preceding equally random events, half of which are these out of nowhere, barely comprehensible fight scenes that constantly lean into video game logic over common sense. Like, we gotta break the skeleton's bones, guys! Quick, throw away your 3-pound steel rods and punch him! And then the other half are just protag or a harem girl saying, hey, look, I turned into a different kind of monster or got a new skill or whatever, and then it's tomorrow or a week from now, which I suppose would have been a serviceable enough way to tell this story if the concept of following a monster man as he eats stuff and levels up and steals its skills was in any way novel. But even if Remonster's web novel did technically come first, Reincarnated as a Slime beat it to the anime market by like over half a decade, and it does basically the same thing but with an actual plot structure. And also having a slime protagonist steal skills by eating guys makes way more sense than a goblin doing it just because he happened to be a psychic cannibal in his past life. So yeah, just watch that instead.
Yeah.
Also, the title gimmick is getting really stupid really fast, and this joke probably won't make much sense when I'm reading it out loud, but fuck it, that's the level of effort this anime puts in. I give Remonster one dumpster full of rotting monster parts and extremely imbalanced D&D character sheets, which is on fire, but off screen because we ran out of
There we
money.
go. I was going to say,
Lest
where
you
is it?
think we're already scraping the bottom of the trash can, though, rest assured we can go much lower. Highspeed Etoile is a Formula One racing anime set in the near future. So now cars get to have built-in nitro boosters, like a video game, and also like a video game, AI assistants, and even AI drivers. Because why not make the background characters literal NPCs? Now, you might think that would at least make room for the main characters to get more screen time, but that's where you'd be super f***ing wrong. Because the entire, and I do mean entire, first episode of this garbage fire is literally just an animated F1 race with announcers talking over it. And occasional cutaways to random spectators also talking over it, plus some holographic race girl waifus brought to you by the Good Smile Corporation also talking over it.
まずはキングが第1コーナーに入っていきます。いつものワンツー状態ですね。立ち上がりこそ悪かったものの、ここでヨーランの後ろに入ったから攻めた打ち上げ。
We see more sponsor logos for real-world products and companies that paid to make the show than shots of the actual racers through the whole thing, and we don't even find out who the protagonist is until the last 2 minutes.
That's
and when I
mad.
say find out who she is, I mean we literally just find out that she's the pink one. They don't actually start exploring her personality or backstory
She's just
until
the driver.
episode 2. And by explore, I mean most of that episode is also just an incredibly boring race with voiceover over the whole thing. But this time, there's also like 2 scenes totaling 3 minutes of dialogue revealing that she used to be a ballerina and also a hardcore gamer. And her gaming skills got her recruited as a real-world racer with corporate sponsors and everything, even though she literally doesn't know the rules of the sport. Think the Gran Turismo movie, but way stupider and with more moe noises. Though, aside from those moe noises, it's no exaggeration to say this show just straight up does not have a plot or cast until episode 3. At which point it becomes a bottom-of-the-barrel F1 themed cute girls doing cute things show, so if that's something you've always wanted to see and you can stay awake long enough to get there, good for you, I guess. For the rest of us, though, I rate this one very large, mostly empty garbage bin with some brand stickers slapped on the side and one very lonely body pillow cover draped
Is that
over
what
the
that
room.
is?
To balance out the plot deficiencies in the last course, the next item on tonight's menu is God's Games We Play, a show about guys playing games with gods such as Icebreaker Memory, a variant of the classic card matching game that the author made up as an excuse for the protagonists to spend the entire first episode yapping about their backstories and motivations and a little bit of world building while pretending like it's a brilliant mind game. I'll save you the trouble of watching that. In this world, gods are real and they're real bored, so they periodically challenge humans to massively convoluted magic board game variants, dangling the prize of a single wish to any human who can win 10 in a row without losing 3, which so far no human being in history has ever been able to accomplish, though our hero, Etoile, the greatest living gamer, is well on his way to achieving it even before the god game hero partners him up with a super powerful ex-dragon goddess they just thought out of an iceberg who just so happens to look like his long-lost Onesan. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to stay awake if I keep trying to describe this anime. It just hits that perfect, whatever the opposite of the sweet spot is, where it's way too ugly and poorly written to be good on any level, but also nowhere near bad enough to actually be entertaining. It's a wastebasket full of stale crackers. Can we please move on to dessert already? Yes, it's finally time to tuck into the legendary trash that's finally back after so many seasons away. What?
I don't even know why he got a second season.
What? No, not the f***ing Harry Potter incest thing.
Oh.
Better, but still no. Obviously, I'm talking about Konosuba Season 3.
Yay.
The trashy isekai comedy about trash human beings
I'm letting the episodes
and one
build up.
trash goddess perpetually failing upwards in a world that's far too good for them. The new season picks up where the movie left off, with Kazuma
Brilliant. I'm glad I didn't skip the movie then. Brilliant.
trying to overcome the trauma of being molested by various monster ladies and dying. He got better by running off to a convent to become a monk. Though along the way, the party encounters a new kind of plant-based monster that preys on empathy and trust. Sort of like Friren's demons, which really sucks for her, because Kazuma has very little of either. After digging up the presumably less paranoid isekai hero she met before them, the party also finds the infinite gold-generating treasure that guy reincarnated with. So Kazuma says screw the convent and heads back to town to spend some of that cash, but of course it immediately gets stolen, so they're back to their old hijinks. Though little do they realize that was actually the first step on a larger quest to recover a whole bunch of isekai cheat items that Aqua sort of lost track of because she really sucked at her old job. Also, before they can really get back to their typical adventuring shenanigans, they've got to get through regaling the crown princess with tales of those shenanigans without getting executed for a breach of courtly etiquette, which, knowing this crew, is going to be a greater challenge than any of the demon generals they've taken down so far. And if you don't know this crew, man, I cannot recommend highly enough that you correct that at your earliest convenience. Because Konosuba's last 2 seasons are some of the funniest, most charmingly animated TV out there, and this new one more than lives up to that legacy. It's so rare to see anime continue after this long away, let alone do so without falling off at all. But Konosuba remains a prime example of what 5 golden dumpster tier trash looks like. Actually, screw that. This show deserves its own properly godly trash rating. Aqua out of 10. With that said, I hope you saved room for a second, even trashier dessert. Because no matter how useless and horrible the waifus of Konosuba might be, at least none of them are predators, just Kazuma.
その前に俺が何みたいだって？昔のお兄様みたいだと。もう一度言ってください。お願いします。お兄様みたいです。もう一度。
Wait, sorry, my mistake. I wrote this segue before watching season 3, episode 5.
あれ？なんだかお姉さんのアイリスを見る目が。そっちか！真面目でお堅いやつだと思ったのに、そっちだったか！
Underestimated you, Konosuba. But Claire the Castle Guard is only a minor attracted character, whereas Silpha, the head maid in I Was Reincarnated as the Seventh Prince, so I can take my time perfecting my magical ability, gets the most screen time out of anyone in that show, besides, of course, the very young titular protag-kun that she and all the other maids, the king really should have screened better, are constantly drooling over and fantasizing about. Don't worry too much though. Mentally speaking, Prince Lloyd's like 30, having previously died as a magic-obsessed commoner and gotten his wish to be reborn in a noble family with innate magical talent, so one could argue he's the real creep here, were he not actually a very gentlemanly little fella who politely refused to even breastfeed. And anyway, he's way too horny for magic to even think about the ethics of this whole situation, which is the right mindset to be in if you want to enjoy this anime. Which I honestly think quite a lot of you will, despite how I chose to segue into it, because once you look past that admittedly quite sticky sticking point, you're gonna see a whole lot of this.
国戦法だ。勉強になったか。何？
Especially once Lloyd makes Grimoire, the ancient demon sealed within his castle's forbidden magic library that you saw him fighting just there, his fluffy little bitch, and starts using his demonic powers to find even crazier magic system exploits, which he then tries out on even more deserving bad guys, treating ancient sociopathic liches and sex-pesty demons like they're ants, and he's got a magic magnifying glass. It's basically One Punch Man for guys who'd rather read lots of books than do lots of push-ups, and also guys who've always wanted to see a Chinese dress with built-in booty shorts, which is worn by a girl with a crush on a magically aged-up version of the prince, just by the by. So if you can't stop thinking about that thing I told you not to think about, there's your default best girl.
Oh no.
No, you know what? Default feels really reductive. Tao is a genuinely great character. All of these characters are a ton of fun, especially Grimm, that fuzzy little tsundere, and even the ones you'd probably catch doing a ukulele apology video in a different universe. Plus, the magic system would be genuinely interesting, even if Lloyd wasn't taking it to hilarious extremes, and the extremes the show goes to are frequently straight up hilarious. I overlooked this anime on this season's ones to watch precisely because all the everything turned me away from it, and I just didn't see much more here than a shameless power fantasy. But having watched a lot more of it, it absolutely is that, but it's the joyous, free kind of shameless that I built this restaurant to celebrate. I give it 5 magic school dumpsters full of weirdly tight overall shorts and grimoires crackling with arcane fire. And that's all the trash we've got for you tonight. When you're ready to leave, we'll have a man conk you over the head and ship you back to wherever you're from. And don't you worry about getting back to Tokyo for next season. We'll find you. I'm Jeff Thu, your devoted trash Somali A. Thanks, Rosetta Stone. Bidding you... No, wait, they're not ready to leave yet.
Konosuba seems cool. Can't wait to get back into it. Yeah, I finished the movie like last week because part of me was like, maybe I can skip the movie, but now it's confirmed that I've made the correct decision. Oh, I didn't realize I was wearing my Konosuba. But yeah, thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video, I want to be able to watch patron-only reactions, such as the original Dragon Ball series. Link is in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month is all I ask to help support the channel. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you for that, and thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? If you guys do this, click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. And I'll see you guys all you guys. Now.